Hey guys, how y'all doing? My name is Kieran, and this is Fox Off RPG. So today, we're going to have a look at two things by Legend of Talk. Legend of Talk is a creator who done the characteristics zine that we looked at there a couple of weeks ago. I will obviously leave a link in the description where you can find that in the top right hand corner. But this time we're looking at one of them is going to be an adventure. It's going to be for levels 1 to 2, and it's based upon a Warhammer Fantasy role-playing game adventure. It's pretty cool. The second one is going to be called the Valor's Emporium. It's going to be a bunch of gear, weapons, new stuff like that. It's going to have, like it says here, some adventuring gear, intoxication stuff. It's going to be some new creatures and so on. This one's going to be much shorter. It's only 26 pages, while the adventure itself is 56 pages in total. So before we get into the video and looking at the adventure and the Emporium, again, as always, I want to thank everyone for checking out the videos, for liking, subscribing, all that stuff. It helps out massively. I'll also leave a link in the description where you can find the Legend of Talk drive-through. I'll attach my affiliate link if you want to use it. If you don't, check the stuff out. The guy's great stuff. It's also very cheap. He does his own art and stuff like that. It's top notch. I'll also leave a link in the description for my X account if you want to follow me there in the Discord. So let's get into the video. We'll have a look at the adventure first. It's called Bloodstones, the Tower. Legend of the Bloodstones. In the midst of the millennium, nearly lost to memory, existed an age shrouded in darkness, where nights seemed eternal and days offered little repose. Chaos reigned over the vast majority of the land, and very few civilized realms were sparse and isolated. None escaped the sinister grasp of evil. In this bleak area, two formidable wizards, my own fault as usual, two formidable wizards, masters of their own respective magical arts, united their powers, one wielding the fierce energies of battle magic, while the other commanded the secrets of ancient arcane runes. Together they forged the Bloodstones to repel the advancing tides of chaos. So basically what this is it's going to talk about how these Bloodstones, there's 12 of them in total, they give magical powers and magical abilities. And in this you're going to come across two. So it has 1 and 2, so there's literally 2 stones. I know the creator of this, he's working on another 2 adventures related to this, at least 2, it might be more, I'm not sure. And it talks about the wizards here, and you're going to have 2 of them in here where it talks about how they were apprentices, one named Theodore and the other named Armand Zahar. They were both trained to be wizards and doing alchemy, and they came across the story and the legend of the Bloodstones. They ended up going out on an adventure looking for these Bloodstones, and after each finding one, they then split away and done their own thing essentially. One of them started to study the stones, his own stone, while the other studied his stone and ended up looking for more stones. And in the whole tale is basically one of the wizards try to steal the stone from the other one. And there is quite a lot of reading in this. It's going to be basic knowledge about the circumstances behind all this, and I don't want to read too much of it, but it's just to give you an idea. And it sort of starts off in a city and in a town. You're going to need a city located either on a lake, on a river, or near a sea. Yeah, that's kind of what you're going to have to do, just based on how it's designed. So it talks about the adventure begins. So essentially when the adventure begins, there's this young boy who's going to attempt to pickpocket our characters, but he's not really pickpocketing. He's inserting a document asking for help from his grandfather, who is the wizard. And the document reads, "To the brave and noble, I humbly write to you with a heavy heart in desperation. A most precious artifact has been stolen from my sanctuary by dark forces that threatened the very fabric of our world. The artifact must not remain in the vile grasp. Its power, if wielded by the malevolent, could tip the scale in the dark side. My own abilities, though vast, are insignificant to recover alone. Thus I call upon you, valiant heroes, to come to my aid. Please find your way to my home, located at the end of dock 15. So that's why we need the docks. I shall provide you with the resources and knowledge at my disposal, and my eternal gratitude of a wise old man, and is also a substantial reward. Time is of the essence, which by the passing day, the threat grows more dire. Together we can thwart this evil and restore balance to our realm. So yeah, that's essentially the whole idea behind it. It gives you the map. That the creator of this also created, I don't know if he created all the stuff that's in this, but I know he created several things in it. And he has it laid out the mappage. I mean the square feet of everything. What each square is 5 feet. Has everything named. So it's great. I think it looks beautiful. His artwork is amazing. I know he's done the artwork and characteristics. Brilliant. And again, there's going to be a lot of reading here, and there's going to be some back and forth, some story stuff, and descriptions of what's going on. So when you're coming here, your characters are going to come in the dark. There is going to be thieves and stuff around, looking around, like there often is in these creepy city harbors. When you're walking around these areas, you're going to have to do some checks for some like old rotten planks. You know, you're trying to find where you need to go. You're trying not to draw too much suspicion to yourself. And it talks about meeting the old man Perkins. It tells you he has the porch at the edge of the dock, a shack porch at near the end of the dock. Now that Theodore is no longer in position of the Bloodstone of regeneration, time is to age him rapidly. He is one of the wizards who had one of the stones, and it was the rejuvenation stone. There's also going to be checks in this later on if you get the stone. So to keep in mind, the stone is very powerful, but it has limits, and you need to pay a blood price to use them. So that's why they're called Bloodstones. At least that's why I think they're called Bloodstones. I'm not very familiar with the Warhammer fantasy stuff, but yeah. So basically, he's going to give in some more information. There's a description of what's going on. He thanks you guys for coming here. Again, there's going to be a lot of information. I don't want to read this too much for you because it's going to spoil a lot of the story. But essentially, he's going to ask you to try and go out into the world to recover his bloodstone. He needs it to survive. He is over 140 years old or so. So he's kind of like the old dying man he wants to hold on to life. And also whoever took it is also very powerful, and like he says, it's very malevolent. But yeah, so then we're going to leave here and we're going to be stalked. Your characters are going to be stalked by the thieves. There's going to be a bunch of NPC stats and stuff like that as well, which is great for not only this but other games. You're going to have at least 6 of them there, and eventually they're going to come across you and they're going to pin your characters. 3 on one side, 3 on the other. So no matter which way direction you're coming from, you can get backstabbed and attacked like that. Again, this adventure is for level 1 to 2. It's a great introductory adventure. Well, not necessarily introductory adventure, but it's good to get the characters sorted into the world. And it's also going to train your characters in other ways. So if you have new people who've never played before, because where we're going to is going to be a tower, and the tower itself, I would locate it personally much further away from the city. I would put it like 4 to 5 days of travel away. And the reason why I would do this, because it doesn't actually give you any travel rules or like how far away it is. It's kind of left up to the GM. Because 4 to 5 days of travel is going to be far enough where you're probably going to have at least 1 or 2 encounters. That's going to build up the tension. And when that tension gets built up, you're going to find yourself, or your characters are going to find themselves more on edge. Because again, they're probably going to be injured. And that is half the fun of Shadowdark. Going to the adventure is just as important as the actual adventure itself. Again, it's going to build up tension if someone's more injured than the others. And then let's say we finally get to the tower. After those, say 3 to 5 days, you probably have 1 or 2 encounters on the way. It's going to be up to the DM and GM how they want to do that, or if they even want to do it. They just want to have you appear if you're one of those people. But if you're playing Shadowdark, you should be doing hex crawls. It's important to the game. And like it says here, it's going to have 12 rooms, 5 floors, between 1 and 2 rooms per floor. It talks again, it's going to give a lot of descriptions of what's going on. The outside of the tower, you approach the tower from where the city edge is located, sitting on the basement of the Razor Edge Mountains. Again, I think it should be located further away. That's why I said the 4 to 5 days, but it's 3 to 5 days. Again, it's going to bring more tension, and that's what you want. Tension is always great in Shadowdark. And talks about the old road passes through several towns. And it says on the GM note side, the overland travel to the city to tower. So the city to tower is not important in the adventure. Feel free to redline this part in your story instead if crawlers have arrived and can begin their investigation before sunset. Again, crawling is important in Shadowdark, and it's going to build up more tension. So yeah, so it talks about basically how the tower is dilapidated. It's covered in green moss and stuff like that, and you have to try and find a way to get in. And it talks about attempting to use grappling hooks. Essentially, this is where your characters are going to have to come up with a way to get in. Again, obviously, you're not, as a DM, you're not going to be telling them what to do. It's up to the characters and the players to use their own brains and also think about how their characters would play. So it's not just, you don't use metadata or meta information. Again, this is a great way for new players to sort of learn and figure things out. This is another reason why I like it, as well as just being a good, fun adventure with new creatures and monsters you can have and new items. Then it talks about here, any crawler who's fluent in goblin tongue can overhear the goblins eagerly chatting about the carousing party held in the tower this evening. The goblins, animated with excitement, will be sitting up in the wooden rampart, pounding on the front door. After a brief pause, another goblin will open the door instead, greeting them with a crooked smile, pats on the head, and they are welcomed in, and shuts the door behind them. And I guess it gives your players options here what they could do. But again, this is going to be more of up to a player. How they want to do things. Maybe they want to do a grappling hook and try and get up to one of the higher levels. Maybe they want to break down the door. Maybe they want to trick the door from being opened by banging on the door. And like I said, one of them knows how to speak goblin. Blah, 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 blah. He might be able to break it in. Then it's going to have the different chambers and the different rooms. Again, I'm not going to go too much into this. There's a huge description on the rooms and what's going on. Again, it's very, very detailed. I think for some people who are used to playing Shadowdark stuff, things are much more shorter. This might take a little bit getting used to, but it is very good. It also gives good descriptions of what's going on, the characters, the NPCs, what they're doing, the feel of the whole rooms. You really get a sense of it's disgusting, dilapidated. Nothing's really working. It's all sort of like ramshackle together. I think you can see that from the tower. It is literally falling apart. So the creator is really going for the feel. It talks about the different rooms, the different kinds of creatures and stuff you're going to come across, and you will eventually have an orc boss. Again, he's going to be giving orders. He's going to be telling people what to do. And obviously you're going to get all your treasure tables and stuff of what some of them will have and some won't have. You might find some spells and stuff like that, or scrolls. So it's very much all about the feel, and the creator is really, really trying to draw that in, or hammer that in, which is good, because again, if people are not familiar with the Warhammer Fantasy game, this is going to help you get an idea for how things work, I think. And again, a bit the feel. Like it says here, in the attic and dormitory, you're going to have a set of double doors on the south side of the wall to open to a perilous balcony, where wood weakened by dry rot threatens to give underfoot. Any crawler who spends a round or more on the balcony has a 50% chance of falling through the rotten wood. If the boards give way, a DC 12 check, dex check can be rolled to either grab onto something or leap to safety. Again, it's just giving more details into the feel of the room, the world, the tower. So it kind of, if you're going by the normal Shadowdark rules of real time, this might be hard to translate. But if you're doing sort of old school essentials sort of way of doing things, and when I do Shadowdark solo, I do old school essentials way of travel, like in dungeons and stuff like that, because I don't have a group with me. We're not going to be talking and debating and arguing about what we need to go, where we're going to go, with the torch timer. So that's one way you can do this as well, but you kind of have to figure it out when you're doing the real-time torch. Maybe say if your characters are there, they're talking and arguing, and then all of a sudden you start hearing off the floors, then they're going to know to move on, or try and do something. Then it's going to talk about more new creatures. You're going to have shadow goblins in here, and then you talk about having a skirmish with them and how that's going to turn out. And then you're going to end up in Armand's workshop. Dun dun dun. And in here, you're going to have, again, another great description of the room. It talks about here a grand double-sided bookcase stands majestically at the center of Armand's sanctuary. Its shelves sagging under the weight of the ancient arcane tomes. Countless leather-bound books, some brittled with age and adorned with cryptic symbols, titles in forgotten languages. Again, it's really setting the mood. One book in particular hides among them, containing the knowledge of location of all 12 Bloodstones. This book, marked only by a single black diamond, is not only written in the diabolical language, but in Armand's personal secret coded language as well. If adventurers find this book, and the crawler who speaks and reads the diabolical language can attempt to break the code with a DC 20 intelligence check. So that's very high. And then it's going to talk about having Armand here, and he's going to have one or two ways of playing the character. You can have him as the originally created chaotic evil, and he won't think kind to people, basically breaking into his home and killing people. and Armand's alignment has but then it has the second way. Armand's alignment has always remained chaotic. Over the last 30 plus years, his outlook has shifted. He now desires the company of individuals who he engage in stimulating and intellectual discussions rather than his current followers, who are basically a bunch of idiots because they're orcs and goblins and so on. And then it talks about how you can try and have a conversation. Obviously, you want to have a character with higher intelligence. You probably want to do some rolls, and the GM's going to have to basically figure that out. Go into his quarters, and you can end up basically having a fight with him and getting the Bloodstone back. Like here, it gives you 3 essential scenarios. Siding with Allman Perkins, so he's the guy who gave you the mission to begin with. Side with Armand, or going their own way. So it's going to be, again, I would not say this to the players. Generally, what's going to happen is, if the characters are good, they're going to go with the person who gave them the mission. That's generally what happens anyway. Or they end up going their own way. So they might do a mix of things. So But here it talks about the Bloodstones, and it has, I think it's 12 of them. Yeah, 12. And I talk about it in detail, what they are, how they work. So the Bloodstone of Regeneration, I'll just read one or two of these here. By sacrificing 1 hit point of your own blood to the stone, the wielder can restore another being of a character for 1d6 hit points. However, the magical stone goes beyond mere healing. Prolonged use of the magical Bloodstone with unique side effects can dramatically slow down the aging process of its wielder, allowing them to live twice their natural lifespan. And the Bloodstone of the Windstorm. Those are the first 2 stones that are in this. The rest ones don't show up in this, but they are described in that book like we talked about. And again, these are just a cool tool that you can add into any game you want. So the Windstorm. When the wielder sacrifices 1 HP of their own blood to the stone, and unleashes a powerful force of wind that affect targets. The second 1d6 targets within range of a normal sized target, such as a half walk or smaller, must make a DC 15 strength check or be blown away 2d10 feet and knocked down. Large targets like trolls and orcs must do a DC 12 strength check or be blown away back 1d10 and knocked down. The GM can use common sense and discretion when this Bloodstone can be used against inanimate objects. So you could knock over a big object, a table, smash it into another character. Maybe that's going to do some damage. Like you said, a bookshelf might fall down or be blown across a room. That could crush someone, especially it was one of those bookshelves, super heavy. You could just say that would kill something. But yeah, so there's 12 of them, so you can add them to your game. And then it talks about that orc boss, the goblins, the shadow goblins, the thieves, Old Man Perkins. You could basically go back to him and you just decide to kill him if you want to. And then Armand, and it's going to talk about everything he has here. He's going to have the spells, what page you're going to be on, So yeah, that was pretty damn good. I had a lot of fun with this one. Again, you're gonna have to interpret some of the things yourself. Some of the descriptions and stuff like that is quite long, and when you're talking to the old man Perkins, you're gonna kind of be doing a little back and forth between the players and the GM talking, and you're kind of assuming the players are gonna give you the correct response. So again, you might have to change things on the fly, which as a DM or GM, whatever you want to call it, I always do that, to see what happens, as normal. Now, we'll talk about the Valor's Emporium. Again, it's by the same creator, and it has a list of new weapons. Stuff like this is always fun. It's always interesting and useful. It's going to add a little more variety. There is other stuff out there like this, but again, he's doing something different. Everyone's doing their own thing and doing something different, which there's no right or wrong way. And that talks about the weapon proficiencies, what they are, what they do, special weapons, new versions of shields and swords, and like it says, range weapons here, as to give you plenty of options, new armor stuff, and more, building upon what's already there. Adventurer's gear, again, this is all stuff that some of it it's changed a little bit. Other parts are going to be expanded and added on. Different marketplaces, what you can find, where you can find it, travel, how much things are going to cost. This is really useful, I find. Lodgings, oddities, what you might find. It's this guy's deck of cards, you use that for gambling. Marketplaces there, more stuff here, hard alcohols, other food and drinks, mounts, livestock. So maybe you do a small mission for someone and they need like a new goat. Or if you want to, you could say you're a big team and adventuring team, you're going to have a goat with you, you travel along with you, and then you kill it when you need it. Just saying. Musical instruments, and it gives a description of everything. Poisons are always cool. I love poisons in RPG games. There's a few things out there for poisons. The player's companion also has stuff like that. It's pretty cool, lots of fun. Intoxication, and there, this is going to be some cool stuff you could do. And then what happens when you get drunk? So let's say on a 9 or 10, you befriend a group of dwarves who tell you about a lost dungeon. A lost dungeon to keep in mind, or brutal or a burial site with an ancient secret. If only you could remember where it was. Maybe that can be in a mission. You're trying to find the dwarves again. You're trying to track them down, or maybe you're on the road and you find them and they're on the way there. And of course, they try and rob you, or they are killed straight away. And a good few new monsters and creatures and stuff like that. War dog, a boar, a large riding boar. So again, it's gonna be for like a goblin or something like that. So a pony, mule, or donkey, a large riding ram. have a dwarf sit on that with a giant hammer. That's awesome. And a warhorse light and a warhorse destrier. But yeah, it's pretty short. This one's only 26 pages, including the back cover. But yeah, there's some really cool stuff in here, especially like the poisons and the new creatures myself. That's just me. Also, the intoxication stuff is great. I think this alone is just, you pick it up for that. Again, this stuff is not expensive at all. The creator has a very low price for all this stuff. I will leave a link in the description where you can find both of these things. So yeah, guys, if you like that, leave a like, comment, subscribe. If you want me to look at anything again in the future, I will try and do so. I'm changing things how I've done on the channel. I don't know if you've seen that, but basically I'm thinking of doing one review a week and 1 to 2 gameplay videos. That will not be coming into effect straight away, but that's sort of the plan. So that doesn't include like me having flip throughs and first looks at things. It doesn't include looking at like backer kits and kickstarters. So that's gonna be extra stuff on top of that. So if some of the stuff is shorter and easier to look at, I might do more than 1 review a week. Or if it's something I've previously looked at in detail and I know I've played it like a year, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, I can just do a refresher on it and I'll then talk about it. So yeah, that's it, guys. So I want to thank you all again for checking this out, and I'll talk to you all again soon. Good luck. Goodbye.